Many struggle to maintain a daily spiritual practice, often citing rituals complexity or a lack of time. Although the first can be the case, there is something to do about the latter while actually maintaining efficiency. This is where minimalism enters the picture. Contrary to popular belief, minimalism isn't just about not having furniture, books, or tech. It's actually about having only the essentials, allowing room or space for more meaningful things. By applying minimalism, you can streamline rituals similarly to how arrow functions simplify regular ones in programming. They keep only the essentials while preserving the core purpose. In his foreword to Modern Magic, One Cat advocates avoiding becoming one of those solely focused on the work. Considering this to be one of the best pieces of advice, I've adopted an approach to actually condense my practices. And since occasionally people tell me they really have no time, I decided to eventually share it. So let's begin with the start of any practice, the lesser rituals. Lesser rituals. As covered on the channel multiple times, the lesser rituals set the space, whereas the greater and supreme attune it to a particular current, especially according to the operant model. Traditionally, the lesser pentagram and hexagram are preceded and followed by a Kabbalistic cross and the keyword analysis. Now, while these are mandatory, multiplying them several times really isn't, as you pretty much never use LRP and LRH alone. So try this instead. Kabbalistic cross, lesser pentagram, keyword analysis, lesser hexagram, and you have your space set. Based on personal experience, this really doesn't alter the operation, but feel free to share your results. General invocations. Once the space or field is set, we can proceed with a general invocation, which can include an adoration of the source of the universe, or whatever suits you, different strokes for different folks, and a version of the middle pillar, the 3 pillars technique, or the 11-fold seal. For the second, the middle pillar, you can use only Atzilut or Atzilut and Braya names once per Sephira. The fourth, the 11th-fold seal, remains unchanged. The 3 pillars though is quite lengthy, so I suggest keeping it to start your power naps and or meditations, after or completely separate from your practices. Also to utilize all 4 names for maximum benefit. Options. From here the options are several: a greater or supreme pentagram, an opening by a watchtower, or a greater or supreme hexagram. Whichever you choose, it really doesn't need an additional Kabbalistic cross or a keyword analysis, as you already gave those. Supreme pentagram. For the elements I offer SRP, as it's basically the most complete version. Either way, you skip the archangels, as you've already invoked them with LRP. OBW. For opening by a watchtower, regardless ceremonial magic offers different variations. On the contrary, traditional OBW is kinda cumbersome and requires weapons, which really shouldn't stop you from incorporating it. To the rescue come 2 options. A supreme invoking pentagram 4 elements on which OBW is actually built, and 2, a somewhat simplified fusion of OBW and the same kind of SRP. Invented by a scholar named J. Allen Moore, the second is something I've been experimenting with and basically using for the past 2 years. It starts with an SRP, yet after each tablet it adds the phrase, "In the names of so-and-so, I invoke angels of so-and-so," like the original OBW. The fusion involves the mystical tablet of union, the central spiral names from the tablets, the Enochian rending the veil, and a rather interesting protection invocation I found particularly empowering. Also the sigil of truth, yet based on personal experience, going without it, like in the original OBW, is actually possible. Remember, magic is like art. Not having a particular piece of equipment should never prevent you from creating. Similarly, not having this or that device should never stop you from doing the work. Let me know if you agree. Speaking of that, you can go clockwise in a circle or Yod-Heh Vav-Heh for this technique, and soon I'll hopefully have a manual on it. You might want to precede your general SRP or OBW with a part from the Bornless ritual, particularly that starting and finishing with I'm He, the Bornless Spirit, and Yao Tzabaoth, such are the words. Greater Hexagram. For the Sephira or path, I offer GRH over SRH as it's more streamlined and versatile, working with the planets and signs' dual natures. If its preliminary poetic invocation is from a book, use it as it is. If you composed it yourself, you can make that short and actually rhyme. This is where your knowledge of correspondences comes in handy. The better it is, the more streamlined and impactful you can make that. And the same applies to your specific invocations and charges of intent. 4 worlds. Now, you go through the 4 worlds and give a charge of intent and then a license to depart. Next, you can add your second keyword analysis or proceed it with a Kabbalistic cross to seal the energy. And if you want closing banishings, you do those with your second keyword analysis and Kabbalistic cross. Time. Skipping the general SRP or OBW and the quoting banishings can reduce such a practice to about 4 minutes, otherwise it is close to 10. Meditation on the other hand cannot be shortened, and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. If you want the bare minimum, just set the space, do the adoration and general invocation, the poetic invocation if you are doing a planet, or a specific SRP and the closing Kabbalistic cross or LBRP. Given that I really don't think there can be excuses for not dedicating 5 to 10 minutes once or twice per day to something you actually care about and which actually brings you value. Let me know what you think. Doing things this way lets me practice with a rather fierce excitement I invest in every detail of the work. Chanting names and repeating preliminaries don't, but that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts and results with such a quote-unquote minimalist approach. Check the links in the description, consider subscribing and supporting my work, and thank you for your time.